Great. Thanks a lot, guys. All of you have joined for this exciting webinar. So good morning and good afternoon to everyone who have registered for this great one from different Asian countries and want to witness great session happening today. Hope you and your family are doing safe. Just to let you know that today is the first webinar for this new year and a unique experience for UAE market as well from AI CoreSpot side. An icing on the cake is the topic, which is synergism of AI, blockchain, IoT, and cybersecurity in digital transformation. And we are really excited to host this. Now, to begin with, let me introduce myself and the company to you. My name is Nitin Naveen, and I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI CoreSpot and have great experience around a couple of decades in consulting firms dealing in and around the emerging technologies. Further, I've been joined by my colleague, Arvind and Naveen, who will also assist me in keeping the event lively and resolving technical glitches if it comes in between. So thanks a lot to them for putting in hard work and making this one a huge success. We'll try to provide a seamless experience to all of you so that you can gain maximum output out of the same. Let me provide a brief background to all of you about AI CoreSpot. We started a couple of years back, backed up by our InfoVision, who is knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. Our mission is to serve as a hub for information regarding Industry 4.0 technologies. The focus is to provide all of you a deep dive in all the sectors, wherever technology is there. And every month we have a separate theme. Also, we are gaining momentum month on month. Our aim is to be #1 AI-driven community all over the world so that like-minded people like you can be a part of the same in supporting, growing, and making it a success. We'll enrich the content through a lot of emerging technologies like digital content, blogs, videos, podcasts, and newsletters to shed light on the ever-evolving industry. The focus is to do some great industry-backed webinars and hybrid events. The knowledge base will be made from reliable data through subject matter experts, industry leaders, thought leaders, and our partners. We are having a lovely and unique webinar around the great theme which combines the power of technologies like AI, blockchain, IoT, and cybersecurity in the digital transformation space. So if you want to know blockchain integration and benefits with other technologies, all about IoT and challenges overcoming with tech integration, accelerated data change brought about by tech integration, improved security, immutability, and transparency, aggregation of technologies in various market sectors, and so on, then you are in the right place. We'll try to go all over it throughout the panel discussion and give lots of insights to you. There are lots more in store for next month with focus on different technologies like metaverse, quantum computing, and so on. So request all of you to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io, for future updates. Also, please like our social media handles, which will keep you all updated on everything what we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. So before starting with the day, I would like to highlight few things so that it can set up the tone for the amazing learning and networking day. Special mention about our knowledge and innovation partner, InfoVision, who has supported us since beginning and provided us the right support to bring the community together. InfoVision is an end-to-end IT and business service provider, specializing in providing technology transformation and innovation projects for over 25 years now across multiple industries, and they serve 12 global locations, including US, Latin America, Middle East, and India. They have unique state-of-the-art research and innovation lab named Digit7 in Richardson, Texas, with 5 great innovative products. So to get in touch with them, kindly log on to their website, which is infovision.com, and leave your details through the contact us section. Now moving on and coming to our community partners for today. It includes Siemens, Grant Thornton, and Azman Bank, who came together to make this webinar a success. Special mention to attendees of the event who registered and came together to achieve these objectives through this forum. At the end of the day, if you gain few things out of this or get to network with each other, then our core objective as a platform will be achieved. Further, if anyone wants to ask questions, they can type it in the Q&A section. You can type in as and when the panel member speaks, and we'll try to get it answered as per the time permitted. Now let me hand over the stage to Rajendra Magdam, who is the Chief Business Officer handling Asia, Middle East, and India at InfoVision, and who is the moderator for this panel discussion as well. He's joined by 4 great leaders, Fuad Alatar, who is SVP Digital Enterprise Services, Middle East at Siemens, Andrew Schumer, Director Technology Advisor at Grant Thornton, Bharat Raj Gangar, Entrepreneur Board Advisor Corporate Services, and Mohammad Iqtadar, Head of Operational and Fraud Risk Management Risk at Azman Bank. So over to you, Rajendra, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thank you, Naveen, and wish a very good morning to all the participants. It's a real pleasure to be amongst the best of the leaders across the world in different technologies. So, to begin with, as the digital transformation is the core area wherein we are trying to apply these technologies, the digital transformation has been there for past 1 decade or so. Initially, it started with mobile, and then omni-channel implementation, then the analytics and data joined the party, and now we have artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain uh, joining the front runners race. And I believe all these technologies have been complementing and commending each other. So my first question really goes to Bharat. So, Bharat, I think the digital transformation is sort of a new normal for the entire industry. What do you think about the new normal, and how do you think this has settled down over the past 1 decade? First question to Bharat.
Thanks, and good morning, everybody. I know it's already 18 days into the new year, but still a happy new year, and I hope everybody's actually doing well. So let me just quickly recap what we have seen in the last decade, and more specifically in the last 4 years, right? Um, in the last decade, kind of thing, let's say from the 1996 to 2000, people were still sort of around the pre Y2K and post Y2K, where which actually did an onset of the e-commerce boom, right? There was a slowdown because of 9/11, and the recovery actually took until 2009. Now, if I actually then take a step back and look at the 2020, the world actually got surprised to a large extent and shocked by the pandemic. This left business with no choice but to survive in the world where business needs to transform. There is this less face-to-face interaction, and that sort of led to a lightning speed transformation to survive, with minimum investment or spend. Now, if you actually take, the 2020, we were still sort of trying to come out of the pandemic, which was not easy, trying to emerge out of the pandemic. Many a business, they survived if they actually have basic presence on online, creating necessary methods, including, remote workforce, and barely scratching the surface in eliminating the what I call it as a tech debt. Why do I call it as a tech debt? Is because technology was evolving, and to leverage on this efficient technology was a major business actually had not factored for these changes, right? Now, if I take last year, we still carry on the challenges of 2021 and beyond and prior. Also, because of the other challenges, the economic challenges, the lack of investment led to more tech debt. And even though business wanted to actually do a continuous operational improvement, the investment on the technology went up spiral. The supply chain disruption, also took a very high toll, especially around the inflation globally. So this is where basically we have to look at it, the last quarter of 2022 and coming into 2023, we are actually seeing a emergence of digital disruptors. We actually talk about more replacing the traditional business, the way of working, the more slow progression, of how business are actually into the digital transformation. Consolidation is a key aspect, which during the session we'll actually talk more about it, right? But consolidation, eliminating the legacy, transforming. Now, when I talk about transformation, it's not just only the technology; it's the people, the process, and the technology. So that business strategy, is aligned, and technology sort of is able to upkeep to that. Last but not the least, the revolution. Raj talked about the AI, the blockchain, the Internet of Things. That's basically a revolution where a lot of these are emerging, providing a digital ecosystem, which is based on technology, focused not only on selling to the consumer, but also how do we sort of retain loyalty with utmost operation efficiency. That's basically what I see as a journey which has actually evolved in the last decade.
Couldn't agree any more, Bharat. Thank you so much. And taking it as you divided the entire decade based on what was the priority and what was happening in the global market and the technology. Next, let's hear from Andrew. From your perspective, how do you see the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain? Is it creating a new wave, or are they the new catalyst in the digital transformation? How do you see it, Andrew?
So it is, first of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. And it's wonderful to be on a panel with everyone here. As Mr. Bharat said himself, with regards to this, it is an evolution. So there's a lovely feeling about saying that these are hype words, right? So you go back, you say, why do you want to transform? It's because you want to create value. There's potential for value, whether it's loyalty, whether it's the bottom line, whatever that piece might be, with the scalability. So when you start looking at these technologies, if you, and I call it a mistake, but if you look at that mistake and you say these are siloed technologies, right? They're independent. Yeah, it's easy to say, yeah, they're the flavor of the week, but of course they're not. They've evolved from multiple forms of technologies that we've seen for the last 30, 40, even 50 years. In another webinar, I can walk you through the history of that. I'm sure you all know quite well. But if we take a very quick example, I'm going to use that Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 experience, where we talk about in the beginning when everyone was using Netscape, Navigator, and dial-up internet. Obviously, what you had on your computer was your server. So your website was there. Your mom came in and turned off the phone. Your website was no longer there, right? We then said, gosh, for security reasons and for everything else, we'll start to push all of that to a centralized place that's always on. I think if you remember, we had always on internet. That was quite a big start right before broadband. And what that did was all the services that were layered, all these things that allowed businesses and people to integrate with each other, that became a really interesting piece. That was Web 1.5. When that started to build a bubble around it, we started to look at Web 2. When that bubble burst, we started to look at different types of pieces and technology. So when we talk about digital transformation being led by technology, technology is also led by digital transformation, right? So it's that triangle, that people, process, technology, as Mr. Bharat mentioned earlier. Nothing exists within a silo. They are evolutions that are pushing forward for the right and the correct type of technology piece. Later on, we'll also mention cybersecurity a little bit and how that has changed. But from a blockchain perspective, no one was this excited. I was super excited when MySQL came out and MariaDB came out. No one else got that excited. Of course, now we talk about blockchain as a database type and what that allows us to do. Very, very exciting, right? So from a perspective of how they integrate with each other, it's an evolution. From the perspective of how technology works really well together, that definitely is functional. We're also starting to see, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeing this out there in the market and from the clients. I'm seeing that they're starting to understand that, wait a minute, if you take a blockchain and you can understand a transaction, that doesn't necessarily mean financial. You can then understand, you can maybe clean your data pipeline. If you can clean your data pipeline, you get your governance right. Your governance right, maybe you can do some AI. Why are we doing AI? Maybe we can advance our technology in cybersecurity. So you see how it all starts to play together in a really interesting fashion. Now there's a wonderful, I'll be done in a minute, but there's a wonderful example with the automation. So automation itself has been around for a while. How do we automate the process? Public opinion will tell us automation will put us all out of a job. Actually, not at all. But the ROI of automation is incredible, right? And this has got some fantastic success story of technology being able to go in and say, you've done these 50 things in a row. It takes you this amount of time. A machine can do it in minutes, in seconds, right? You can now focus on the actual important parts. The automation piece provides huge amount of feedback. And we're getting there with things like blockchain. We're getting much faster blockchains. We're getting much faster interactions. The same thing with AI. We're understanding what that means. Unfortunately, as is the case with all technology, we tend to make the mistakes before we get it right. But at the same time, I'm an agilist, so I believe mistakes help us learn. So we will definitely get that right. In 2023, I think, is the time when people are beginning to understand the interaction and how that technology goes forward. So the short answer, it's an evolution, and it's definitely pushed on by all the different pieces. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I think two things actually came up very distinct between what Bharat said and Andrew, you said. One is evolution for sure, and then we have seen the last decade or so, sometimes technology driving the digital transformation, and digital transformation sometimes driving the technology and helping us explore more. So moving on to some specific industrial sectors, Fuad, you happen to be from Siemens, which doesn't need any introduction. But from your perspective, how do you see the artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and the blockchain impacting or helping the industrial sector? What's your experience been, and where do you think it's heading to, Fuad?
Thank you, Rajendra. Maybe I'll start from where Andrew had finished. He discussed automation and the impact of automation on machines. And this, just to correct also the start of the digital transformation in the industry, it started really much earlier than the normal, let's say, smart cities or industry 4.0. So I can say it started even with the industry 3.0. 240 years ago, I think the first industrial revolution started with the mechanical and the steam production. And then with Siemens 175 years ago, when Siemens started with the second industrial revolution, and they started also, they tried to be pioneers also in the third industrial revolution when the first PLC appeared in 1969. Then a few years later, Siemens started with their PLCs. Soon Siemens, for example, just an example, Siemens started doing neural networks in the late 80s and the early 90s. I still remember in my early career, 30 years ago, they have the neural network cards. So AI cards and AI started in the industry much earlier. However, everyone woke up in 2008 almost when the cyber physical system started, the first mobiles. And when a few years later, there is, I remember I read an article, research in the IEEE. There are now more mobile phones, double mobile phones compared to toothbrush. So just gives you an indication where the industrial revolution is going, that people have more mobile phones than toothbrushes. And this is, of course, it was like an explosion in the normal life, but for the industry, cyber physical system is the communication between the cyber, the computer, then the CPUs, and the physical world. This has started with the first PLC, because this is the PLC and the DCS, distributed control system, is to connect the flow and the pressure and the motors and the equipment with the computers, where you have the central control. So because of this early start, at least in my humble opinion, I see that the industry is one step ahead when it comes to utilizing the artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, the IoT, yes, it started maybe 3 years or 4 years after the cyber physical system, because IoT, I think, started in 2011 when we have the first cloud-based solutions. Then 2 years later, I think Siemens and other people started introducing their own, let's say, cloud-based systems. Now I see everyone for the last 2 years, including Siemens, of course, they wanted to be like ahead when it comes to IoT and their, let's say, 40 years old AI systems. They want to put all this portfolio in one location, an open system. For example, this is accelerator, it's called in Siemens. They wanted to accelerate the digital transformation. So what's the accelerator, for example? In Siemens, we have 3 elements. We have the portfolio of Siemens. It's 175 years of automation, and they converted to artificial intelligence systems where you can just use it from that platform. Also, they understood that interoperability and openness is very, very important for the IoT. So there is an ecosystem where more than, for example, even only for Siemens alone, more than 435 partners are using that one platform where everyone also putting their solutions and providing their services in the system. And there is, of course, for the users, there is the marketplace where, for example, Siemens is offering artificial intelligence system for predictive maintenance, which maybe I can talk about it in the next discussions. I don't want to take the microphone forever. Don't give the microphone to a sales guy.
Thank you for that. I think that makes a huge sense, and it's very impressive to see the overall background and how much it has gone into the to the whole technology from the industrial practice. And we have just seen one question coming from how to start the career in blockchain, and I think Andrew has answered it even before I could divert that question to Andrew. Andrew, you want to take a minute and just explain it so that James can benefit from it? How to start a career in blockchain?
Sure. Sorry, it's odd. It's a question I normally say. How do I start a career in databases? And that's really what I want to make clear. Blockchain is a massive space. Whether you want to go into crypto, DeFi, whether you want to build on the metaverse piece, if you're thinking supply chain management's interesting, if you want to get more technical on networks, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on and how that will work together. So really, the first thing is, I mean, I'm here in Dubai. I'm quite lucky. We have many blockchain meetups, groups where people talk about it. Get interested, let them know who you are. Definitely do some courses. If you don't have the money to pay for the courses, go and do the free ones. Increase your knowledge massively, and then get you excited about one use case you like a lot, because that will help you. And then start writing. So I'm a big fan of getting up your IDE, your own development environment, and start playing with it. A lot of the stuff is open source. A lot of these projects are good, and this is how you start. It's a software development line that you're looking at, unless you're looking anywhere else. But even if you want to do sales, if you want to do distribution management, all of that, really do focus on that community, focus on increasing your knowledge, and reaching out to people like us. It's a really good way to do it too.
I couldn't agree anymore, Andrew. As you said, network is the net worth, and if you want to increase the net worth in blockchain, you might as well get connected to the community. So thank you so much, Andrew. We'll continue to the earlier question, and we definitely would like to hear from Mohammed, who happens to be from the banking. So Mohammed, from banking perspective, it's a very interesting area, right? I mean, banking has always been the front runner and the front adapter of anything that comes new to the market. Yet you have very sensitive data. You handle the risk and compliance. There are so many things that you got to manage. So in terms of digital transformation, it's very impressive that banking definitely makes sure that it is implemented. So what are your thoughts about it over last decade or so, and what's happening right now?
Thank you. With regards to, as far as, first of all, welcome everyone and Happy New Year. With regards to the banking, we have, if you go through the banking stimuli as compared to for the digital transformation, it's a broad database. And we have a lot to talk about in that. And considering Ajman Bank is a small bank in the UAE, so automatically they just started for the digital platform. But looking at the Emirates NBD and my colleagues in FAB and other places, because I'm the part of the UAE Fraud Forum also. So, and I'm sitting in the UBAF meetings also, the central bank. So with regards to that one, my understanding is very clear with regards to that number of things have been come up with the digital platforms. And one more core thing which is really impacted the digital transformation at this point of time from the risk aspect is the cybersecurity. Now, with the cyber crimes, which are happening in the card losses and all these things. So I did this when I see from the broader prospect, looking at my field and all these things, and also the part of the risk and compliance and audit, I look from the 8 benefits which we got from the digital transformations. Number one, the banks have increased their databases like anything. Customer database has been increased because of the digital platform. Everything is available on your palm. You can go and you can do the mobile banking, you can do the internet banking. Things have been really changed a lot. And with this 3D secure concept with regards to cards and the other stimuli, automatically the customer database have been more secured, more enrichable, and definitely customers are facing online faced, you can say, speedy and recovery, speedy process for their transactions, all these things. With regards to a sub-banking process, the core banking systems, definitely all the banks, you can say thousands of amounts they are basically utilizing to change their core banking systems. Just now I'm at the head of ORM and FRM, so we are also in process of doing a revolutionary change in our operational risk management system. We are bringing a new model of Archer in order to, across the bank, it will work, and it will also integrate it with the CRM, customer relationship management. So any complaint coming from the customer side will definitely reach to the operational risk management, how to address it and all these things. Then there definitely are data-driven decisions have been increased, strategy, budgeting, consolidation, you can say forecasting, everything has been changed. Big data play a very important role. Just now they have introduced one product in my bank, Ajman Bank Millionaire. So we have reviewed around 5 different banks, Mashriq Millionaire, Mahfouz, Adib, Lina schemes, all these things. So it's a revolutionary, you can say. You have to go on the websites, you have to go on the big data, and you have to, big data driven decisions are coming. So transactions costs minimized, definitely transaction costs have been very much minimized. If you ask me now, after the blockchain, when the distributed ledger will come, automatically all this international transfer remittance fees and all these things will go away, because we don't require any more these kind of things. As far as the enhancement, adaptability and flexibility, here I think we are slow down. People are reluctant to change their lifestyles. They want to come to the branch banking, they want to sit at the physical banking, having a coffee, kava, but this will not going to work in the near future. Mashriq almost closed most of these branches or either consolidated their branches. So physical branch banking will be obsolete at one point of time. There will be a metaverse, branch will be available. You can go and you can do whatever chatbots are available and all these things. With regards to consolidated data and processes, we have stimuli our processes with regards to digital banking, because digital transformation change a lot. So automatically you have to consolidate your data, your processes needs to be changed, your policies need to be rewritten, and many other things needs to be done. Plus regulatory framework is also coming for the with regards to the digital transformation. Regulators are also being interconnected with that one. Now central bank is not just sitting coming over there using a hybrid model for our inspections. They are sitting in Abu Dhabi and they're doing hybrid models. They're doing investigations from there. And we are asking whatever they are asking, we are responding to them on that one. No need of sitting face by face. There are WebEx available. You can do whatever meeting which you want. Then, so it improved our reporting process also. Even with our own board risk committees, board audit committees, the risk reporting line is quite stimuli. Now you don't have to wait for your quarterly meetings. Anything which you think which is very material and significant, you need to shoot directly to the where you can route and you can shoot very easily to the to what we call to the higher management and to the higher board and the risk committees and all these board members. As far as the most important change which come through the digital transformation, which really made our things very easier, is our CDD remediation process. Now I will tell you what is CDD. CDD is customer due diligence remediation process. Once you open an account, there is a KYC includes with it. Know your customer details. Now, know your customer details needs to be verified or needs to be rewritten or needs to be excised always after 1 year or after 1.5 years, whatever the bank decision will be. So now we have automated our KYC details on the mobile banking. So you can go, you can upload your Emirates through Emirates ID card reader. You can go to any of our ATMs, put your Emirates ID, it will read, change your KYC details, what is your annual income, where you are working, any other evidence you need to attach, and that will update your KYC. So it's a revolution, you can say, in the banking field as far as the banks are concerned. That's why the possibility of education is very much increased in the banks. We are not hiring anyone who don't have any certifications or the qualifications. We require individuals who knows their work very well, and they should have a background of IT. That's it.
Thanks, Mohammed. It really aimed very well in terms of the benefits that have been administered by the by the digital transformation. And you talked about the challenge. So I want to take the next question. I mean, the top couple of challenges. I'm sure whenever we get a new technology, there is a resistance. There is, I mean, we seem to get more number of reasons why we should not adopt this or why we should not change, rather than really focusing on the benefits. So, quick one, Andrew. What do you think were the typical challenges, and how did people overcome those challenges from your perspective in digital transformation, especially in these three technologies that we are talking about?
So, disclaimer: I'm a glass is half full kind of guy. So when you talk about early adopters, late adopters, hype, I see a natural system for improving the technology to the point where we actually could use it for something worthwhile. So, but that being said, the challenge is hype. Okay. So we all see crypto. Who doesn't want Bitcoin to come in at 10 cents and then sell it for $75,000? Man, that's amazing, right? Turns out that's not blockchain. Turns out it's a slight ledger that has something to do with it. And so hype is a problem. We need to educate people in a way that makes sense, right? So hype, number one, educate is the answer. Okay. The second piece that I find a bit of a challenge is the adoption rate. So people hear something, and some early adopters, some companies are like, we're going to do it. We want to go all in. And this is before governance has come out. This is before we've understood the impact. And technology is impactful. The entire purpose of technology is to replace some of the more manual processes, to make things happen faster. Now, if you're making mistakes faster, that's a lot more mistakes, right? It's just a numbers game. And so quick adoption becomes a problem. People feel like it didn't go well. The failure is an issue for them. We're never going to do that again. Gosh, we were burned. And everybody jumps on that. And it's very connected to the first problem of hype, but at the same time, you need a sense of resiliency when you're adopting these technologies, and you need to understand what impact it has. I know I'm here in consulting, but I'm kind of new to consulting. I used to be in industry quite a lot, but I cannot emphasize enough, impact assessments, gap assessments, understanding what that means for you, your clients, and everything else before you adopt. So that's the second piece. The third piece is expectation management. So what exactly do we think we're going to get out of this adoption, right? Why are we doing it? What is our low cost? What's a fail? What's a win? What are we okay with, right? You would do the same with yourself and anything else you're doing. You start a fitness program, right? I'm going to lose 400 pounds. I'm going to become the next, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Turns out maybe that's the wrong expectation management. It's the same thing with technology. What are you adopting? What do you want to achieve out of it? And there you go. So once we understand that, we really get kind of a fair use understanding of what we can do. And for me, and this is maybe a little bit dry, but I have a feeling Mr. Mohammed might agree with me. If you don't understand or have a governance framework around it, it's going to go wrong. Governance, I cannot really, GRC is so important with any technology. Governance, risk, and compliance. Sounds dry, but here's the thing. You protect people. You protect yourself. You really engage an ROI that makes sense. The value that comes in isn't the value you're going to lose when you've considered it. We're seeing VARA come out with rules in the UAE soon regarding virtual assets. We've seen the OECD come down on NFTs and say, great, you can do NFTs, but there has to be an inherent value before you do it. In other words, no more monkey pictures, right? For $60 million, right? It's a really positive piece to think about how that works. So those, for me, that would be the four. Just to recap, that would be hype, quick adoption, expectation management, and please understand governance. Those are the four from my side.
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Meanwhile, we have got a question from Juan Jacques Pretorius, and this is to you, Mohammed, talking about the earlier topic. He says, Mohammed, I assume you need a third-party KYC verifier. Would you like to endorse this, Mohammed? How would you like to confirm this?
Party KYC verifier on all these concepts are, yes, they are available. Third parties are available, which are doing these jobs for the banks. But unfortunately, just now when we have completed our inspection, central bank don't want it through outsourcing models. They are saying, this is your customer, call the customer, do your KYC. We are not going to ensure. We need it in not independent ones. We are not evaluating it. This is not a model. It's your customer database. Anything happen, you should be responsible for that. So ultimately, all these KYC models, most of the banks are trying from their own side in order to address those things.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much. So, taking on the challenges aspect, Bharat, you have been the advisor and the board member of several companies, especially in the area of cybersecurity. So, we always come across this question, AI and IoT. Is it going to increase the threat that we have in terms of, or what's the impact of artificial intelligence and IoT implemented widespread on the cybersecurity? What are your thoughts about it? Bharat, you seem to be on mute. Is it just me or is it
I think
everybody?
we cannot hear Bharat. Yeah.
We cannot hear Bharat.
Bharat, unfortunately, there seems to be some technology issue. So I think while Bharat is fixing the IoT of his earphone, I would move on to Fuad in the interest of time. So Fuad, in terms of the industrial technologies, what are the aspects that you think have prevented the possible production stoppage or some serious incidents or and all the other aspects you think where you were able to control these? How do you implement this for all these threats, all the new technologies from the industrial perspective? Fuad?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I assume that Bharat, once he has the mic, he will explain the challenges. And frankly, from my perspective, in the industrial challenge, in the industrial sector, the main challenge is this applying the standard IT practices on the OT, operational technology, and on industry. And this is a challenge itself because we need to explain, always to educate the customer that the IT main priority for protection is the confidentiality. This is very, very important. This is the top important element. While for us, availability and safety are the most important elements. So this is one of the main challenges which we have now to solve the customer fears about these incidents. We have three elements to protect. Unlike the IT, we have three main elements. One is the plant security. Now, what is the plant security? It is nothing but the physical security, because unlike the IT, you'll see that the automation systems, some of the automation systems, as I said, started 1969. For example, Modicon, the first PLC, the Modbus, the Modicon bus is still active and is the most used bus in the world. It is not a secure bus. So to secure this bus, there is no way of protecting this bus other than physically isolating it. So we call it. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Fuad, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. To protect this let's ancient buses like Modbus, or we call it RTU bus, is to do a cell protection. Cell protection is to have all these buses which we cannot protect and physically put it in a cell and lock it physically. I mean, it is just to make sure that no one will be able to go and access that bus, because once he or she accesses that bus, it's very easy to get the information or to play with the system integrity. The second element is the network security, which is, people call it the IT security, which is everyone, I think this is the the strongest in the market. The maturity level is good. That means we are talking about endpoint protections, we are talking about firewalls and so on. However, the third element, which is the most important element in my opinion in the security for the industry, is the system integrity. What is system integrity? It's just to make sure that the packets which you send from node 1 to node 2, for example, is the same packet. We know in cybersecurity that adding a zero or removing a zero from the packet is the easiest thing. Any amateur can do that. So playing with the integrity of the packets or the signals will have serious impact on the industry. For example, assume that we have a pharma industry where we are putting 1 milligram of this chemical in that medicine, and the 1 milligram becomes 10 milligrams. Just imagine the impact. Instead of manufacturing a medicine, we'll manufacture a poison. Yes. So the system integrity is very, very important. This is why most of the solutions for the OT security or the automation and operational technology security is around the system integrity. Now, to protect the system integrity, back to your question, how the people who do not have the know-how in the industry can make sure that these incidents and these problems will not happen, or at least reduce the risk to the unacceptable range. First step is to do an assessment by an expert. This is I think there is no way but to do the assessment. Normally we use a multi-industry standard like IC 62443, or for us in UAE, we have the national standard, the NISA standard, which is more likely it is like it's a mixture of multiple standards, including the IC 62443. So we do the assessment either for greenfield. If it is a new project, we'll do an assessment on the design, and then we'll come during the factor acceptance test just to make sure that the threats which we identify are mitigated in the design and implemented in the FAT. Or if it's a brownfield, we go to the site and interview the operators, see the network diagrams. Then we come with the list of the threats which we identify. We sit with the management and bring the risk level to an acceptable range, where, for example, plant A will accept this risk, maybe plant B will not accept. For example, an angry employee is a risk. Yeah, someone who will open a window in a firewall, for example, for an outsider. Maybe some people will say, no, this is not a risk for my employee. I mean, so it's different from one place to another. Of course, once we do that, when do the assessment, then the next step is to do the implementation for these measures, either by the plant staff or by third party or by us and Siemens, is to implement all the security measures, including firewalls, endpoint protection, and so on. Then after that, still you are not 100% secure, because vulnerabilities in the industry appear every day. If you go to the website of Siemens or Yokogawa or ABB, Honeywell, you name it, you'll find like, oh, this firmware needs to be updated, otherwise you have a security threat. So you need to manage the security, and this can be done either remotely or by introducing some advanced technologies or vulnerability management. So you need to manage the security from the OT point of view. The patch management, for example, in the IT is totally different from the OT. You cannot do the patch management every month in an OT system. You cannot do a penetration testing for an emergency shutdown system. This is a big problem. If you allow me, maybe I can give one example or two examples why you cannot do that. I don't know. I mean, if the time allows.
I think in terms of time, I think we have about 15 minutes left. We have one more question.
Maybe I can give examples.
Maybe you can cover the couple of examples real fast, because it's very interesting the way you have narrated the whole stuff, and giving an example actually works much better. So please go ahead, Fuad.
I'll give you example. I mean, maybe thank you. I mean, for being generous, I will give you quick 2 examples. And one for the standard automation in an oil and gas company where we have done the integration for the onshore and offshore parts. We know the offshore we have the unmanned platforms where we have a PLC system, we have a distributed control system, and we have something called emergency shutdown systems. Emergency shutdown systems means if there is any gas leak, for example, or fire detection or smoke, you'll just shut all the pipes. You shut down everything. And because these are unmanned platforms, they are in the middle of the sea, in the Arabian Gulf, they are connected. The project is a multi-billion project, is to have subsea with it. It's a lot to have subsea cables between the offshore platforms and the onshore. So, and to connect everything to the onshore. So the onshore, if the system, for example, fail to detect the gas, they will just shut down it manually. They will not wait until someone goes to the offshore, because going to the offshore, you need a chopper. If the chopper is available or not, a helicopter, or if you go by a boat, if it is, for example, in this month, you can barely go twice or 3 times a month to the platform because of the rough sea, for example. So we have this subsea cables and the shutdown systems. Now, shutdown system in the OT, normally we have something called cell level. That means safety integrity level. As this level is available and reliable to do the shutdown. And we have the cell level 3 for an emergency shutdown system. That is one of the highest cell levels. Now, to do the shutdown through a network, not through a push button, not through an electrical wire, you need to have the certain requirement for that safety bus. Let's say, I'm trying just to simplify it. For that, the network latency should not be more than a certain number. For example, in a HEMA system, not the SEMA system, it shouldn't be more than 100 microseconds. So 100 microseconds is safe within that. If you'll be more than that, it will go to from cell 3 to cell 2. That means you'll not be safe anymore. And in this project, customers' IT management, they insisted on a certain firewall to be used. And they said, this is our standard, this is used everywhere, we must use this in the project. So we used it, and luckily during FAT, we did the cell assessment for the network, from the multiplexers of the fiber optics and the firewalls and the routers and everything. And we realized that this firewall itself added 50 microseconds to the latency. So with the 2 firewalls, that is already 100 without any network elements. So we told them, yes, you are secure, but you are not safe. That means the whole project, which is a multi-billion dirham project, is waste of money if you'll insist on this firewall, which is a good firewall in the market. However, because of this latency, it became an unsafe project. So this is just another example. I'll give another example on the AI and the IoT, where we have been doing a pilot project for 8 wellheads. We have 1,500 wellheads on the onshore in Abu Dhabi. So for 8 wellheads, we have done this predictive analytics for the electrical submersible pumps. These pumps goes underground, and to do maintenance for them, it's a nightmare. You need 1 week just to get them out and to do the maintenance. That is a stoppage for the wellhead. So what we did the wireless sensors for for example, the temperature, the speed, and the electrical current, and so on. And from that signals, we do the deep learning, and we predict the failure 1 month ahead almost for the electrical submersible pump. So you'll have the time to fix the problem to avoid the shutdown. So everything is good. However, customer also insisted. They said, we are talking about IoT. That means we will use smart city protocols, and we are using Zigbee protocol. So you need to do Zigbee, and we know Zigbee. There is also a Zigbee Pro or a Zigbee 2007, which is an industrial Zigbee. We said, okay. So we use Zigbee, and again in the FAT, we did assessment. And they said, no, we want the maximum security in ZigBee. So we put the maximum security in the ZigBee, and unfortunately, we realized that ZigBee, when you go maximum security, it has to send a packet every second just to make sure that everything is protected and encrypted correctly. And for these wireless transmitters, they're supposed to work from 2 years to 5 years without charging with a battery, because they are going sleep mode in the industry. However, with the ZigBee, with the highest industry, with the highest security, with every second they have to send data, they went from 2 years battery life to 3 weeks. And we're supposed to have 1,500 wells. Just imagine 1,500 wells multiplied by 6, 7 detectors, and you need to replace the batteries every 3 weeks for all the wells. That means you need an army just to replace the batteries and to charge the batteries instead of every 2 years, every 3 weeks. So I told them, okay, the project is secure because you selected the ZigBee here, but it is not available. The project will just fail. So these are just quick examples. I hope I didn't go too much technical, but I think I hope that the idea is clear.
And absolutely, the examples were absolutely apt, and I think your problem should be solved by these solar-powered batteries, but it will take time because I'm sure your equipments would need much more power than what we can get.
Yeah, the problem is Rajendra, the solar for 1,500 wells. Just put yourself and add no contour shoes. The solar cabling, because some of the solars you need to reach the sensors, you need to do even road crossing. That means minimum, we calculated it, minimum you need $50,000 per well just for the cabling. 50,000 by 1,500, that's the project will go
I know
unnecessarily too expensive.
yeah, it's not viable. So let's just checking. So we have a couple of questions. So I think James is continuing the earlier question, Andrew, and I think he's definitely keen. He says, "I have work experience as Discord moderator slash community manager for a lot." I think I'm not able to read this, but I think gaming guilds, DeFi gaming guilds, and the NFT and arts project in Matic and Solana network. I'm currently graduating as the computer engineer this year, which I'm starting with cybersecurity internship. I want to step up the move into more technical jobs in the blockchain. What career path can you suggest, or is there any project that you own that I can work as a part time? And I need experience to hone my skills. And it's really good to see the participation from the participants. And I would rather really appreciate James taking this. But I think Andrew has answered the overall way to get into this. Andrew, you want to add anything else that you have already answered to this, Andrew?
So in terms of interesting projects, I have a number. In terms of blockchain-based games and gamification and metaverse, there are a really interesting group that are coming out in Asia in a really big way, because the adopted market there is quite fast with regards to play to own, not play to earn. I think that's another webinar for another time. But do send me your information to my email address. I think it'll be there. So I don't think that's an issue. I can probably connect you with some people. Another one is if you're in Dubai, please come to the blockchain meetup at Area 2071 at Emirates Towers, because there are a lot of like-minded people doing a lot of interesting things. And what you're offering is basically, free work for people and free experience for you to kind of function that. And I think that'll go quite well.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very
Rajendra,
much.
maybe I can add, because
Yeah.
I think his name is James. He said that he started a cybersecurity internship. Now, just for your information, James, cybersecurity, I remember a couple of years ago, LinkedIn, they did a survey for all the LinkedIn people who claim cybersecurity expertise. And if I remember, I'm too old, but I think 189,000 experts in security worldwide, which is a very small number. However, when they calculated the number of OT security experts, people who claim that they are OT experts, they were less than 900. That means we have 0.05 of them, they know what is OT security. And this is one of my main challenges in Siemens, for example, is to get people who has the OT security experience. And frankly, I mean, I remember I interviewed one guy who has only 5 years experience, and he requested for my salary, just with a 30 years experience. Yeah, I look like 21, I know, but I am much more than that. I'm joking, of course. I look like an old witch, but I mean, the point is, if you can focus on OT security, and that is not really a big challenge because OT training, OT internship is available everywhere. To bridge that knowledge gap will send you to the next level quickly. This is just my humble advice.
Thank you, Fuad, for adding to it. And we have one more question, and apparently that question maps to what we were trying to ask Bharat as well. Bharat, your mic seems to be okay now. So let me just recall the earlier question. In terms of cybersecurity, you work as the advisor and the board member for several companies, and you've been the veteran in it. And I believe, in terms of the challenges on AI and IoT, what do you think are the challenges in terms of cybersecurity? And everybody's going to ask. I think this is the question which Trisha has asked. How does this integration of technologies impact on the overall cost and ROI? So anything quick from you, Bharat, on these two aspects?
Yeah, I hope I'm audible, and apologies for the previous technical. I would like to take the cue from both what Howard was actually mentioning as well as Andrew was actually mentioning, rather than overcomplicating things. Right? First and foremost, yes, AI brings the key modernization to any of these to bring that efficiency and give the expected desired result. But having said that, selecting the right use case for an AI is very important. Right? As Howard actually rightly mentioned, you can actually have an AI, but it can actually lead you to disaster. Now, I will just give a different twist that when we actually talk about AI and a disaster, data, that is the whole soul of any organization, your information. The right level of encryption, which is actually required from a cybersecurity perspective, is important, but overdoing things then leads to business disaster, right? So how do you sort of, manage all of these, First and foremost, from an AI perspective also, getting the right internal process aligned, right? You cannot have a disjointed process. You can actually bring in a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, but if your internal processes are not aligned, your internal stakeholders are not aligned, then, it's not really efficient. To add on to actually what Andrew was actually talking about from a risk perspective, look, in my experience, whenever we actually use the term GRC, it all by de facto get aligned to a technology GRC or an IT GRC. Whereas, business have to think outside the box. When you talk about governance, you talk about risk, you talk about compliance, it has to sort of be a cohesive one, right? The CFO and the CEO has to talk about the risk in unison, right? Having a fraud risk is one bit of it, but how it doesn't just impact technology, it actually impacts everybody as a process. Technology is just an enabler. AI in cybersecurity is just an enabler. The way you sort of articulate out to the business, and this is where your ROI comes into picture, that investing in technology, what am I trying to protect? How am I going to protect? Is my cost of protection outweighing the cost of managing the risk? Now, when we talk about managing, yes, it is either mitigation or transfer. I'll give you a simple example. Today, a lot of folks ask me, oh, but if I actually have a cyber insurance, I'm covered. Yes and no. It's like having an insurance for the car. You are insured, but if you actually break the law, and in cyber world, it is basically more in terms of not adhering to the right controls which you actually had prescribed to when you actually had the insurance, right? So that is basically the antidote, that a lot of AI comes to picture, a lot of ML, but then the internal process not getting aligned to it, it's sort of is a sheer waste of the people time, the process what you actually put in, the new technology, which is really useful to protect, but the net result is a net zero. So that is where basically data being the main bit of it. Where do you store? We talk about the cloud, we talk about the AI, IoT on the cloud. Yes, it is a boom, but it has to be done and weighed very carefully. You have to ensure that you are following the local regulations which are there. Sometimes it may actually sound harsh, right? The local regulation, but it is there for a reason. You know, going global is important, but also adhering to the local needs is the fact of life. I can give you empty number of examples, but I think in the interest of time, I'd like to take a pause and if there's any further sub questions, more than happy to answer, right? And this is where just the last bit of it before, a coercive, when I talk about coercive, this is where all the CXOs, have to sort of talk to each other and align, right? If it needs be, they should not shy from engaging the experts, even if the experts are from outside. We actually have a panel of experts over here, but it should not sort of get shy up. And this is the key aspect when we actually look at any of these blockchains and AI piece of it.
But I think it makes a huge sense because the very personalized, profiled, and preferential aspect for that localization, and we must govern those laws. I completely agree. So, Mohammed, coming to you, you talked about several cases where you have implemented these aspects, and I'm sure the model that you have created must have gone through several, what do you call it? It goes through several season changes, right? I'm sure you must have faced a lot of, I don't want to say resistance. I want to put it as difficulties and how it has evolved. So the entire digital model that
of risk through our risk appetite into different segments. Let's say technology. We have a technology risk with regards to whatever being done by the people, systems, processes. Learn. We have put certain kind of controls over there. Let's say we are for the technology, we are considering what is the functionality model of the technology. What are the access controls we have given? User access controls exercise have been done on a yearly basis. Recertification needs to be done by the information security department and several other aspects which we need to align ourselves. Let's say come to the cyber thing. Cyber, we have a strict control over there for the cyber security. We are using AI for that functionality. And we are monitoring the confidentiality integrity of our systems. Moreover, in cyber crimes, if you'll go, as a bank, we have been attacked through the BIN. Our BIN has been attacked of the credit card, the first 4 numbers of the credit card. Normally that was attacked. And number of cases, because whatever the hackers or the, you can say, this data hackers are available. And so they are taking the BIN number of the bank and they are putting their different numbers, whichever number is done. So they are going ahead with the transactions. There are a number of merchants we have taken out in cyber crimes. We have our internal, some issues happen where we have been exposed to the cyber crimes. Now coming to the strategic sides, which we have also put in our risk domain, strategically, you need to be very much confined with your organizational objectives. Your budgeting, your forecasting models are related to your technology risk. They are addressing your technology risk. The GRC model, which Andrew has told and Bharat has told, it's very important. We have a clear-cut model of the governance, risk, and compliance, and all 3 are integrated frameworks. You cannot go outside the box. You have to be limited. There are thresholds determined. There are limits determined. If anybody breached that limit, it needs to be escalated to the higher management and the board of directors. Now, coming to the operational side, the operational sides, we have issues. Sometimes, let's say we are using Swift for the remittances and all these things. Swift activity. No, sometimes, yes, it happens that you send some money due to any backlog or any vacations or XYZ in different countries. Sometimes the transactions have not been gone through. And there are certain kind of charges are coming or this thing is coming. Being an Islamic bank, you need to be very careful in this. Otherwise, the Sharia will disclose the whole income as a it's not under your profit. It needs to be booked separately on an expense or a charity, sorry to say, with all due regards. Now, there is a major issue which we are facing right now. It's the data leakage. There is a question came from you that third party do the KYC. It's a data leakage from my side. It's a data breach. If I will give my customers data to anyone, it might be sold to anyone or into the dark web or anywhere, and then it might be misused. And the customers will tomorrow will be standing. That's why if you remember, central bank has issued a circular and that was published in the Gulf News as well as in the Khalij Times. That is consumer protection regulation. And in consumer protection, they have identified certain kind of clauses, and they abide the banks that customer confidentiality is the most important aspect. Anything revealed outside, you'll be in a problem. We have a live case right now. There is a customer who died, and I will not going to give you the names, but I'm just giving the case. He deceased, and after that, he has two wives. One of the children came to us, and by virtue or anything, or by branch mistake, he get the information how much amount is available and all this. Now the bank is under the suit from the first wife and the children, that on which basis you have informed them about the things. So this is kind of a data leakage should not be happening. We have gone through, we have conducted our investigations, we fire those people, but at the end you are at the reputation risk is there. Now there is another aspects which on the risk side, from if you go with all these synergies of the technologies, third-party outsourcing model is coming. Third-party outsourcing model is the most important aspect which we are covering in this, the business continuity aspect. Yes, if you put yourself on the third party, let's say your core banking system or your XYZ is being run by the third party and they don't have the BCP plan, then what you will do? How you run the show? Escrow codes are not that much with this one, that you will buy all the escrow codes and you can run your show in-house. So number of things you are in dependency. So we have to have their data, something like the business continuity plans needs to be in place. They should be tested, and this should be, and whatever the risk is being arising, it needs to be mutually determined and addressed. Then we have the forensics parts with regards to the investigations, any kind of security breach, fraud breach, or it is admissible by the court of law and by the legal department of us or by the disciplinary committee, whatever. Regulatory aspects are there. There are a lot of BRF central bank has been introduced with regards to the digitization. They're asking for the large deposits, large borrowers details. They are asking many other details, and everything is digitized. There are systems available. You just have to go to those systems. You have to put, let's say I give you an example, whatever the customers which are not reachable and we have lended them and they are being used in the collection, they are considered to be an escaped customers. There is separate database available with the central bank. And it is interconnected with the UAE Ministry of Interior as well as the immigration. So anybody is just leaving the country, so you will not be catch on the airport. The second thing, the last part is the resilience part. Yes, we are a little bit behind in that, because definitely first you have to address all the risk. Then you build your resilience part, your network disaster recovery plans and all these things. So still we are on that model. We are doing our resilience part, but still it will take time because crisis management has its own dimensions. Plus there are NISA requirements came, which Mr. Fawad has said, and we have to have been dependency. Just now, I think 2 days before, there is a circular came that all banks in UAE have to be compliant with the ISO 22301 for the business continuity and crisis management because of the COVID and all these things. So these things are there, and it's a normal kind of thing. Vulnerability assessment, penetration testings, all these things are there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehmet. It was really good to get the insights into how your digital model has evolved and how it has done the widespread application. So I think we have seen what were the challenges, we have seen the success stories, we have seen the use cases, and I'm sure I think there is one thing that really came into as a common thread, and that was about the mindset. So somebody actually said, digital transformation is not a technology or a method, but moving on, it's going to be a mindset. So, so Andrew, from your perspective, anything that you want to share, that how can we change our mindset to make this as the usual? So anything from you on this regards about the mindset, Andrew?
Absolutely. So you will have noticed today that these esteemed colleagues have all given us very different perspectives. We've gone very deep and quite technical. We've gone very operational, very value and GRC based, and very security based. The mindset needs to be, we can achieve something. What is it we want to achieve? Simplify yourself. I will give a few examples. If you take a look at something like the metaverse, right? It's a very sexy thing right now. People are talking about it. No one really knows how it's supposed to work. It's gone up, it's gone down. It's connected to the crypto winter, which is obviously the devaluation. Is it, you have guys like me who are like, oh, it's Second Life all over again. We have it 50 times. What's the point? And actually, if you go back to the original purpose of what we're talking about, it's an interoperable technological ecosystem depending upon a utilization of a token, right? So what's the utility? Now, let's assume you have the most perfect utility for a metaverse, right? So every time you log in and you do something, you build, every time you build this categorization, you build a value in what you're doing. I earn something on my token, right? And that gives something back to it. Now you have the other problem, which is an age-old problem. How do I get people to use my metaverse, right? So I heard the other day people talking about, well, Facebook's Meta, everyone does meetings on the metaverse and you can choose your avatar. And that's the future of the metaverse. Of course it's not. Meta makes metaverse. They make a metaverse. So for them, that's what they have to use. But it's not really, I don't imagine us having our webinars in the future. Me a giraffe, Mr. Fowd is gonna come along like a rhino. I don't think that's really what we're going to be focusing on. So again, the mentality shift needs to be realistic. It needs to be purposeful. And none of this is new, by the way. So you can have the newest technologies in the world. Bear in mind, what is it you're trying to achieve? I'll give you another quick example. So I had the pleasure of working on the UAE pass, which is it's a really fundamental thing. I mean, all the countries in the GCC have it. Europe has something very similar. You have a digital signature attached to yourself, allowing you to log into places. Digital signatures are an old technology. They're a tried and tested asynchronous technology with a public key and a private key and how they work together. Okay? The reason it works is because it's very difficult to crack. All right. Now, there are many ways to crack things and many ways to break into things. Obviously, a sock full of coins behind the person who's trying to log in, that's a good way to do it. Physical is always an issue, which is why it's great we have NISA, but we should consider NIST as well. And I'm always happy when people think about locking their doors before they think about updating their networks. But that technology is considered elusive to people who aren't technologists. Somehow, the people who work on PKI have managed to convince everyone else that it's very complicated, when actually it's not. You take a 27-digit prime number, you multiply it by a 27-digit prime number, and you have a key. Now you hide one of those and you say, figure out what that is. There you go. Welcome to encryption, right? It's one time. So conceptually, it's not a complicated piece. We're seeing technologies that could potentially make that faster, better, more secure. Later on, you're going to be talking about quantum computing, I'm assuming, and everyone loves that. Oh, all encryption is going to be cracked. Of course, all encryption is not going to be cracked. You'll create encryption using quantum computers. That's one piece. Another piece is we have quantum certifiable encryption for years. So it's not a way of changing things. Our mentality needs to be accepting. Don't believe in magic. Follow the evolution. It is a rational response. Have a rational requirement. Understand what you want to achieve. Make it a low-hanging fruit. We love low-hanging fruits. Then we can all say, look at the great win we had. Let's try the next piece, right? This is important. So for me, mentality is learn the technology, learn a little bit about it. Don't be scared of it. In the 90s, we had people building websites, 80s, 90s, people building websites and convincing everyone it's super complicated. It's not complicated. It's go ahead and learn a little bit about it, right? There's nothing hard about it. It takes 10 minutes of your time, guaranteed. The brain power in this panel and some of the questions we've seen, unbelievable. And we take a look at the IoT piece, right? IoT is everyone stays away from IoT, right? Like, well, OT, operational technologies. Oh, that's complicated. Look at what happened with those oil and gas pipelines. It's scary, right? It's scary. Imagine you change the pressure on an oil and gas pipeline. Imagine what could possibly happen there. The response to that is not a two-way diode, right? That's called a switch. And the response to that is a single diode. Information travels out, cannot travel back in again, right? It's about setting the correct way. If you take a look at a network, be rational, right? So I'm thinking of a broadcast network. Broadcast networks have a major problem. In broadcast technology, you can go from the BBC to Dubai Media Incorporated to anywhere else, and I promise you, the way they set up their broadcast network is going to be different. There is no standardization for this. And here's the thing about broadcast networks. If you pen test a broadcast network, those are pings and packets going, and you intercept one, you bring down the network. That means all the TV and streaming you're seeing disappears. So you have to think rationally about how you would approach this. And so rationality, bring it down to earth, ask questions. If you don't know, someone is in your business and says, we want to do X, Y, and Z. Say, okay, why? Show me how. What do we get out of it? There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking that. It shows a sense of maturity and ability that is unlike any other.
But I'm glad you talked about these two things, rationality and learnability, and the motivation to seek help and motivation to ask. That makes a huge sense. And I know Bharat is at times we have a philosophical discussion. So Bharat, it recalls as Andrew said, never stop learning, because life and technology never stops teaching. So the entire aspect on the learning and development, Bharat, anything that you want to add to it, how it's going to change, and it has changed so far, the overall digital transformation, anything you would like to highlight?
So, Raj, look, I mean, digital transformation or any kind of transformation, it's the same. And, the overall world has actually evolved. Yes, implementing new solutions, assigning the right technology is good. Uh, we always encourage innovation. But as Andrew actually rightly mentioned, measuring the output of that particular innovation, what you're actually implementing, is the key. There's no point, just implementing something because, I implement something in my house just because Andrew actually has it or Fawad actually has it. I mean, do I need it? And if I need, why am I saying this is we can actually have any number of technologies implemented. Along with that, it also comes the risk, right? And the sleeping technology is the biggest risk to me. And I'll actually give an example onto it, right? Look into an M&A scenario wherein a large organization is actually acquiring, let's say, a mid-sized organization. All the systems are actually, all the small organization which is acquired is transformed to the new way of working in the larger organization. But what happens is the old technology, or we might actually say the obsolete technology at this particular moment from an M&A perspective, is just left without any due care, without any due diligence. And if I sort of wear my ethical hat and cap, that is the first point of entry. Because it's not sort of secured, it's not kept up to date, and more important, it's not monitored. So I think that's the key lesson, right? That yes, innovation is required, transformation is required, but transform or innovate as much as you can absorb, right? As much as your business actually help your business to grow. IoT, definitely a big thing. You need it, right? But what is the level of it which is required by an organization needs to be measured. And that is where, business should not sort of shy away from getting the right opinion, right? Maybe two opinions, how it is actually going to impact, how is it going to change, how is it actually going to add value to my business from a growth perspective. I think that's the key mindset which has to sort of come into it. And if that is not the case, then, you will actually have all the fancy things across, but, we'll actually have a lot of frauds, a lot of risks which will actually come into the picture.
Thank you, Bharat. I think summarizing, last couple of thoughts. The topic is synergism of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and blockchain in digital transformation. And keeping it very simple, synergy is something that makes 2+2 at least 4, guaranteed 4, and often much more than 4. And I think last thoughts in terms of the key takeaways, I would like to ask everyone, starting with Fuad, then Mohammed, and then Bharat, and then Andrew. All these 4 technologies definitely giving a good synergism. And so, any key takeaway, a quick fire takeaway from you, Fuad, to all our participants to encourage and get the correct mindset to leverage the synergism of these 4 technologies, Fuad?
Absolutely. I mean, frankly, if I can, because I know the time is running fast. Now everyone is impressed about AI and the IoT, and the problem is our challenge that the people are resisting the change because you fear what you don't know. But I really encourage people to study for each aspect. For example, I'm talking about here in the industrial sector. each aspect, you'll find that AI will make your life much, much easier, and you'll have the ROI much, much quicker than you think if you'll use the right solution and the right party to implement the solution. I'll give you just maybe some hints that you can if you think AI wise, how your life will be. For example, even cybersecurity itself. We have been for many years using the PCAP files to analyze the anomalies from the site. So you'll go and collect the files, then analyze them to do that. With this, you are first increasing the risk when you go manually collecting these files. Second, you don't have a continuous analysis for these files or the packets, the abnormal packets which run between your nodes. So if you'll install an AI-based software for anomaly detection, it doesn't need to be from Siemens. I mean, anything which is AI-based will use either deep learning or isolation forest or whatever will help you making sure that continuous anomaly is detected instead of doing it every quarter or every month or every week. Doing maintenance instead of doing predictive maintenance and corrective maintenance reactively, you can now do predictive maintenance. So you can correct problems before they happen. Instead of doing commissioning after receiving all the equipment, and you'll have to do commissioning in 2, 3, 5, 6 months, you can start doing commissioning. If you use, for example, digital twin, before you receive the equipment, you'll do commissioning, and I cannot say that you'll solve 100% of the problems, but 90% of the problem will be solved before you start the actual commissioning. You have already commissioned the equipment and the plant and the product before even receiving the material. To do energy saving, you will have a consultant to do the audit for the energy saving. Then you do the electrical reduction of power consumption. But if you'll do an AI-based solution, it will give you like an expert giving you where you can save and how you can save. And
Sure.
energy, I'm not talking about electricity here. I mean, everything is energy, including the raw material. Training. Instead of going with the classroom training and shadowing, which is time consuming, and you need to have redundant people to do the training, you can try the speech assistance for machines, for example. That automatic, because common sense training is available to detect the training data or training or the answers from the logic from the OT system and give it to you without another human to be redundant. In the control system, we have something called, for example, PID controllers. PID controllers is the most difficult to fine tune. Instead of doing it once in a life, and then any change in the future in the plant happens, no one is tuned, then you'll have vibration, you'll have more energy consumption. Do it online with an AI-based system, and it will fine tune for forever. Just try to live the industry 4.0. Now we talk about X.0. Don't stay with the old mentality, because I know that we all resist the change, but sometimes against really a very, very big benefit.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, Mohammed, quick one. You agree with the overall synergy these technologies are bringing. So, any liner takeaway for our audience and our participants?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much. The concept itself of the synergies, which Wad also says and Andrew says, you need to co-align all these things. Alignment is there already. Now, going further and coming back to let's say once the blockchain will come and the distributed ledger will come and the things will be changed, automatically some of the core banking system already have these options available. And I will talk from the banking perspective, looking at the bank's perspective, and like things that have been going on, the smart tax is coming in. The things are really changing a lot. It's a driven world, digital driven world, you can say, a digital driven environment. So synergy will be there, and 100% synergy will be there. And number of things have been going to be changed. There are several models coming in AI. AI doing our cybersecurity. They are doing our hacking issues, they are helping us out. They are helping us out in the user access controls, whatever the login and logouts have been happening. Moreover, the new things which really comes in and which really creating a lot in with regards to the IoT chatbot concept. The chatbot concept is an excellent concept. On most of the bank's website, if you go, or either you will go, this chatbot concept is available in many aspects there. Plus, one thing which I really admire and I have been seen, the credit scoring model. Credit scoring model is one of the models which you can say this is really helping banks like anything. You know that the Etihad Credit Bureau is there right now. So whenever you will want to come to any other bank, the synergy is available. So you can go on that respective website, you can get your credit scores are available. And once we want to lend you out, we will check whether your credit scores are within the acceptable pattern or not acceptable pattern. Either you have any default payments or anything like that. So synergies are coming, things have been changing, and really many things which really you can say which will impact us in the coming period. And as a bankers, I will say that the things which will really, the major issue is which we are focusing right now is the dashboards. The dashboards of the risk modeling and risk stress testing and all these things, because the risk spectrum is changed. ERM spectrum is changed totally. Enterprise risk management I'm talking about. The risk spectrum is changed. The stress testing, the modeling of different correlated models, information security model, operation risk model, governance framework, all these have been changed. And central bank is asking a lot, not only over here, even the Fed Reserve, if you go on the websites, you will find different modelings. You will find ICAP, you can say the capacity review, the credit capacity reviews, credit worthiness reviews, all these things. So things have been articulated in a total different concepts, and human errors will be materialized in case if there will be. So this is a mixture of the human intelligence plus artificial intelligence, and the other synergies of the technologies are there. So automatically the time is coming where we need to equip ourselves with all this understanding. Otherwise, definitely we will be an obsolete item. Sorry to say.
Sure. Thank you so much, and I'm sure Bharat and Andrew will agree to this. The overall, I'm just doing a time check. Nitin, maybe a couple of minutes more, if it is.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. We love to hear from last words from each of the speakers.
Yeah. I think these two gentlemen are famous for their one-liners, taglines which will last and make an impression on everyone. So, Bharat, over to you, and then to Andrew.
So, look, I mean, in all these transformations, especially driven by AI, building the cybersecurity awareness within the organization is essential for any success of the digital transformation, right? So you asked for a one line, I don't know, cybersecurity has to be by choice and not as an afterthought. What I talked about transformation, right? Transformation driven by AI, giving the right output to the senior management to make an informed decision is the key, right? And reporting is the key. Cybersecurity by choice and not as an afterthought, including data, right? Including data privacy, because today we will talk about AIs and all those, it shows up humongous tons of data. Now, if you don't really actually have your data privacy and security act in place, success is very, very difficult.
Very difficult. Andrew?
So lean on your advisor and your technical people. Listen to them. Whoever your advisor is, whoever your technical people are, listen to them. Chances are there's something out there for you, and there's a really interesting way you can do it. Listen to them. That's my one-liner.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree anymore. And I think we definitely have had a fantastic discussion. I wish we could go on and on, but I read somewhere, it's an analogy about the two fantastic animals. When a snake sheds the skin, it changes, but when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it transforms. Now, however, that we have without the proper usage of technology, as Fuad, Mohammad, Andrew, you and Bharat, you have said, unless you implement it correctly, that caterpillar will not become a butterfly. But what you will have is a very fast-running caterpillar, which you don't want to have. And thank you so much, Nitin. Over to you for for the questions and or the concluding comments.
Thank you, everyone. We just, had a great absorbing discussion, actually, Rajendra and all the speakers. It was very absorbing. I know this time is, always a constraint, but I was, deeply absorbed in what you all were discussing, and the final comments, added something to the icing, like icing on the cake. So let me just wrap up. We would like to thank all our community partners, speakers, and attendees who came together for enriching knowledge through this forum. We had some great set of panel speakers who came together to share thoughts. Just for your information, today's event was broadcasted in the YouTube page of our company, and the recording will be available there. So you can go and see the recording anytime. Please log on to our website and like the social media channels. We'll be sharing lots of knowledge sharing topics, details, announcement of next events, and much more, which will help you register and attend the same. We would like to thank InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. To understand more in depth, connect with them, suggest any aspect, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com, and closely liaison with them. Further, there are lots more in store for this year, with focus on banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, energy, utility, and so on. So request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. Thanks, and do take good care of yourself. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bharat.
Thank you.
Andrew,
Thank you.
Nitin.
Thank you.
Bye.